It is Dumb Guy Live, Sunday, November 19th. It is Dumb Guy Live, Fofo, 44 here. Obama's presidency. He was the 44th president. Also, my stepbrother's football number when he was 10 years old. So lots of really important. That's gridiron football, Jamie. That's American football.
All right.
Not footy. So that's kind of the difference there. But
Soccer.
nice. So the football. Jamie, how you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I am dealing with a little bit of a cough, so I must apologize in advance. But other than that, I am feeling good. It's I said it before we went live. It feels like it's been a little while since we've been on, which it does seem like I say that every time we're on now, because obviously we can't do it every week. It is what it is. But I am very happy to be back. We obviously just had AW Full Gear last night, and seeing all the reactions to that across the timeline today has been quite interesting, particularly with the main events and stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into some New Japan Stardom and whatever else we get into today.
this comment's crazy. Facts, Anjan. Boo.
Oh no.
And then Scarecrow's watching the Dumb Guys live. That's right. After a few days in the desert. That's right. And we got the whole gang here. Everybody's here. All right. I missed all of you. I hope you all know that. I value all of you very much. But we got a lot to talk about today. I think what we should start with. I think the biggest news in Puro right now happened last night during AEW Full Gear with the announcement that Will Ospreay, one of the top stars in Japanese wrestling, arguably the best wrestler in the world, is officially all elite. Obviously, like, massive news, the biggest departure from New Japan since at least Jay White, probably a bigger departure than even Jay White was, maybe since Nakamura. Would say the biggest departure since New Japan, but obviously huge news. Jamie, what was your reaction when you saw it for the first time? First of all, did you think it was going to be him? Because he was always my thought as soon as they were announcing that, teasing that.
Yeah, I think he was kind of the front runner, looking at kind of the way, Tony Khan worded it in a very particular way. And he said it's someone, AEW audience, pretty much everyone's going to know, one of the best wrestlers in the world, which, kind of narrows it down, unless he was kind of, just lying. you don't get too much better than Ospreay in 2023. It wasn't like a surprising reveal in terms of, like, I think everyone kind of expected them to be, all elite, whether it be now or,
right,
early next year. The timing was slightly surprising, though. Obviously, we did have the report slightly before this from Fightful, I believe, that he was, given permission to speak with other promotions, which kind of, I think after that, everyone kind of knew it was going to be Ospreay, or at least the majority of people. But I did expect them to, hold out a little bit until at least after Wrestle Kingdom. But good for AEW, they've got it down. There was talks of WWE and even TNA were in the hat at one point, which was hilarious.
Yeah,
but
which is like, like, are you kidding me?
Like, he's the best wrestler in the world right now. He's the wrestler of the year. So for AEW to have him, locked in, ready to go in 2024, you'd assume he's going to main event Wembley Stadium.
I'd say it would be a shock right now if he is not in a world title main event at Wembley Stadium next year. I'm of the opinion he should immediately come in, even more so than Switchblade was, and get that main event push. Like they have a lot of guys who are big time wrestlers who they've brought in over the last couple of years, like Switchblade, like Claudio, Adam Copeland, right? A lot of different guys who I think you could have argued that should be slotted into a main event spot right away. A lot of them are kind of right on the cusp of that. I think you just have to just kill it with Ospreay. He's just so awesome. I just don't think you can dawdle at all with him as the guy, because he's undeniable. And when he's not in those main event programs, I think he's gonna probably take away from those main event programs because he's just that good. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm just thinking of outside of the really heated Swerve and Hangman program, which of course got the incredible grudge match last night. I mean, I would say immediately an Ospreay feud with anybody on that show is more interesting than kind of anything that happened on the show for me last night. So I'm stoked. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm stoked for Ospreay. About a month ago, I said I was stoked. I'm kind of still. I'm not considering myself an AEW fan anymore because they signed fucking.
It's been a rough couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I'm like, fuck them. I don't want to support a company like that. I've been grilling WWE for years about that shit. So, like, fuck that. But in terms of being a fan of Ospreay, which I am, he is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I'm almost proud to be a fan of his because even back in like 2017, 2018, when he was still a junior, even then I was saying like, this guy's like the best wrestler in the world. Like, he was just so slam dunk reliable to put in as you know, just putting on a great match no matter who he was against, and now he's even better than he was at that time. So love it for him. I'm disappointed that he's not going to be in New Japan anymore. I'm disappointed that he's never going to get a reign as world champ in New Japan like right now, which I think is probably the biggest implication on the New Japan side, because he obviously won the title in April 2021 from Ibushi. Then there was that weird moment, you remember, where all the like a lot of the Westerner Japanese New Japan wrestlers, pretty much all of them except for Saber, essentially just like walked out for a few months, and they were like, can't do this pandemic shit. I'm sure there are lots of factors involved, but we'll see when things settle down. He skipped the G1 that year, I think, which was pretty big. So he never got any big reign on top, and I think we'll see this have implications with the US title match at Wrestle Kingdom as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I want to say on him, kind of like, you know, in terms of the AEW side of things, you know, for people who are kind of hoping that he's going to get that big push, AEW have already invested so much in Will Ospreay before they've signed him, so I think that's one of the most promising signs. You know, he's already beat, you know, Kenny Omega, or Chris Jericho on AEW pay-per-view, so, and that's before he's put pen to paper. So now he's all elite. I think you know, I think he's going to get the rocket strapped to him, and I absolutely should. And then, in terms of that Wrestle Kingdom match, and you know what it means, who's going to be the next top, you know, Gaijin star in New Japan. Obviously, we've got this Ospreay, Moxley, David Finlay triple threat match for the belt that we don't actually know the name of yet. It's
right, it's true.
Not going to be the US or the UK championship anymore. And I mean, you have to assume that David Finlay's going to win that one because he's the only one that's going to be there. But obviously, you know, we've talked, you know, we've talked almost too much about David Finlay on this podcast. About, you know,
I'm so sick of fucking David Finlay.
Yeah, dude. You know what I mean.
Not. He's in the. What sucks is he's like not even that bad in my opinion. It's just like he's just not on the level of the. It's Moxley and Ospreay, and it just sucks. Yeah. So.
I mean, the match is it's going to be good because, you know, Moxley and Ospreay are in it. It can only be so bad. And like I said, David Finlay isn't like terrible wrestler. He's going to be able to go in there with those two. But yeah, it seems like he's going to be the new guy in terms of you know, the big Western star that they've got in there. So it's big shoes to fill. No Switchblade, no Ospreay. We'll see how he gets on with it. The early signs haven't been the most promising, but you know, we'll see. I'm still very hopeful that Gabe Kidd eventually is gonna take the lead there, but hopefully we get that sooner rather than later.
So, no more Ospreay in New Japan, at least in a regular sense. It's going to be a big deal. It'll be interesting to see who steps up. It'll be interesting to see like what they do with the United Empire stable. Obviously, Aussie Open are not with New Japan anymore either. So that's going to alter things for the stable too. They still have Cobb, although he's been you know, not really a featured guy in 2023 for any, you know, extended period of time. They've got Okan, they've got Catch 22, right? They've got you know, a lot of people in the stable there, but and they've got they got Callum Newman. And but well, it'd be interesting to see what they do. There's been one of the things I've liked about New Japan over the last couple of years is they have done a lot of stable shuffling, which there was like a 4-year stretch where there was like none at all. It was like Chaos, Suzuki-gun, LIJ, Bullet Club, and it was like that's what you got. So I've really appreciated that, and it looks like we might get more of it next year if United Empire doesn't stick around. So, and they kind of did that shift with Bullet Club where they're now like mostly, very War Dog centric, obviously, and they let House of Torture split off too. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, Ospreay is the big news coming out of New Japan this weekend. I will miss him in New Japan.
Me too.
But we do have our final round robin tournament of the year in New Japan coming up tomorrow, actually in about 10 hours. It's gonna kick off. The World Tag League is kicking off tonight. So I think this field is really good compared to previous years. I don't think we'll get a ton of classics or anything like that, but I think match to match, this will be a really entertaining tournament to watch, and I'm looking forward to watching it. I had a crazy busy last couple months, and I'm very much looking forward to ramping back up as we get into Wrestle Kingdom season. And I really hope to watch pretty much every match in this tournament. But I'll go through the lineup in a bit, but any high level thoughts about this tournament?
Yeah, just pretty much more of what you were saying. I'm looking forward to trying to keep up with as much of this as I can. And I agree on terms of like the lineup sort of thing. We're gonna break it down in a sec, but definitely an exciting one. Like you said, you're not gonna get a ton of crazy high level matches, but there's gonna be teams that I'm gonna look forward to following them all the way. We're going to get into those lineups soon, and then some fun outside names as well.
So let's go through these blocks here. We'll start with Block A. Immediately jumps out as being a really fun team. Shota Umino and Ren Narita. They have like a frenemy, dynamic going on where hyper competitive with each other. They obviously were part of this best of 7 series. They were in the same block in the G1. They tagged together against the Dream Team earlier this year. So, and obviously same class of Young Lion. So they've been kind of interlinked throughout their entire careers. That's a super fun team, and I would say a low-key favorite to win this one. We have TMDK, Okan and Hanare. We have Coughlin and Kid. We got the War Dogs, House of Torture, Ishii and Yano. We have the Gates of Agony, Bishop Khan and Toa Leona, which I think can be a ton of fun. This is like what I wanted to happen when people like Lance Anoa'i and Saxon Huxley and stuff were entering Noah. I think they will do it better. And Kaito Kiyomiya and Ryohei Oiwa. Oiwa has been spending time in Noah teaming with Kaito, so Kaito makes a New Japan return, although he's had quite a diminished 2023, I'd say. After about a year ago, he had that incredible match with Muta, and then Muto, and then at Wrestle Kingdom, of course, the Noah Wrestle Kingdom, he had the one with Okada. He hasn't really done a whole lot since then. So I think this block is a lot of fun, and if I'm booking this tournament, I think Umino and Narita should win. They're my favorites in the whole thing.
Yeah, I think they kind of stand out. I mean, you're looking at the matches we've already got set up for Wrestle Kingdom, and those are two of the biggest names on there that don't seem to have anything like nailed on yet. Unless they're gonna. The only other thing I could see is maybe if you go with the War Dogs and you spin it off into Umino versus Narita. In a singles.
Yep, that was my other thought too. Is they do a singles match at Wrestle Kingdom? Yep.
Yeah, so that's one to watch. But I definitely do say at the moment that those two are going to be my favorites.
There are a couple teams in Block B that I think that I would be fine winning it as well. Obviously, Bishamon, you can never count out. They've been the most reliable team in the division for the last couple of years. Love this team of Suzuki and Nagata. Think they're going to have some really great matches. I mean, just even something as simple as like Bishamon versus Suzuki and Nagata should be really good. So Goto has had great matches with both of those guys. Taichi and Yuya Uemura of Just Five Guys, big first like real full-time tour for Uemura coming back. Lance Archer and Alex Zane was a super over team at the 4th of July shows earlier this year. So that'll be fun to return to. Bad Luck Fale and Jack Bonza from the New Zealand dojo. Yota Tsuji and Zandokan Jr. I was okay. I got to be honest. I got to vent to the 37 people watching here. I got really annoyed, but I didn't want to be mean about it today. When in the Wrestle Purist chat they were talking about Zandokan Jr. and Ibu was like, he's been really good when I've seen him, and I was like, there is zero chance in the entire world, Ibu, that you could have told me what Sandokan Jr. looks like before you saw the image of him with Yota Tsuji on Twitter today. I was just like, come on, man, why are you lying right now? But anyway, because he's like a no name, like he's just a guy. This is like, this is like even more surprising than a few years ago when they brought like Terrible to team with Shingo in the tag league. Awesome team of Soberano Jr. and Atlantis Jr. I am so happy that these guys are on this tour. Soberano, I think right now is the best wrestler in CMLL, so I am very excited to see him in Japan. And then the strong tag titles, tag champions, I believe, right? Hikuleo and El Phantasmo are the team that rounds out Block B. But yeah, I would say more so than usual, some actual engaging, entertaining teams throughout this tournament.
Yeah, it's a really exciting lineup. It's especially in terms of like, you know, comparing it to some of the recent ones we've got. That CMLL team's gonna be really exciting, as you said. Soberano, always super exciting, and he's been healing it up lately as well. You know, showing a few different sides to his character, which I think will be exciting to see him carry over maybe into this tournament. And yeah, as well that, you know, Archer and Zayn, they're a fun tag team. Monster Sauce, I believe they go by.
Monster Sauce,
fun name. But yeah, I think most of the favourites that I'm leaning towards are going to be on the A side, but Block B's definitely got a ton of really fun matches. So yeah, definitely a tournament that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'd say probably the three favorites are Umino and Narita, the War Dogs, and Bishamon on the other side. I would say is the favorite. It kind of almost feels like a foregone conclusion that Bishamon will be in the finals of the tournament just because they've been so consistently in the title picture. But we'll see what happens there. But I do think that there's like, it wouldn't shock me if they go with like Taichi and Uemura, or you know, even Suzuki and Nagata. I think would be a great choice for a Wrestle Kingdom tag title match. So yeah, we'll see. Oh yeah, obviously, wait a minute, I'm being stupid. Bishamon are the champions. For some reason I was thinking it was somebody else. But yeah, so obviously Bishamon probably won't win their block. But yeah, anyway, regardless, should be good stuff. All right, anything else exciting about the tag league? I guess we can look at the let me pull up this card for tomorrow.
Let's get into it.
Let's take a bit of a look. Korakuen Hall, they'll start with 2 straight nights at Korakuen Hall. Then actually on Thursday this week, they're at Yokohama Budokan, which is like a big venue. So tomorrow it'll be, let's see, main event will be Narita and Shota against Hinare and Great Okan. That's kind of an interesting choice. Kaito and Oyua versus the War Dogs should be pretty fun. That's kind of the only. And then oh man, Gates of Agony are gonna like squash TMDK. It's gonna be awesome. They're gonna beat the shit out of him, get him over.
Mikey Nichol's taking some sick bumps.
Yeah, Mikey Nichol's gonna land on his head a lot and get thrown like off the top rope or some shit, like power bomb to the floor or something. Yeah. That's a good man there. Oh wait. Oh yeah, we also have a debut of a new young lion on Tuesday, Katsuya Murashima. And then I think do we have another one? Yeah, Shoma Kato the day before. So they will die in their matches. I hope so Yuto Naki. Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the recent couple of young lions we've got. Obviously, we've had this current crop coming back, but you know, in terms of the other guys like the Fujitas and the you know, like Boltons and stuff of the world, they've been pretty impressive. So you know, more new young lions coming in. Hopefully, they can follow similar pattern because they're building up a nice couple of crop of future stars here.
They're on a really good streak of young lions. Like occasionally there's a young lion where I'm like, like I was never a big Oka fan, Okan, when he was a young lion. I was like, take it or leave it with him. And even, you know, he's actually passed on now, but Kitsuya, what was it, Kitamura? He was like the big jacked up guy who they were pushing a lot. I was like, I wasn't really super interested in him. But I mean, really, since then, I don't know. They let Tsuji show a lot of character. Obviously, Uemura had the incredible physique and just like energy about him. And then they've really let Oyua, Fujita, and Nakashima sort of all take their own paths to where they're going now. And then of course Loiba and Oleg Bolton are extremely unique as well. So yeah, I like it. They're good. I hope that Nakashima doesn't return the favor from his debut match when he got his collarbone broken in his debut. And so hopefully he doesn't do that to Murashima because he feels like he's like paying it forward. I would not recommend that. Let's see. So then on night 2, it's tag champ versus tag champ. It's Bishamon versus Hikuleo and El Phantasmo. I really don't like this Hikuleo and El Phantasmo team.
No, it's not for me either.
Yeah,
I don't mind ELP. He's not my favorite guy, but I can like tolerate him. But I just Hikuleo, just I can't do it, man.
Taichi and Yuya Uemura against Yoda Tsuji and Zandokan Jr. could be a lot of fun. And then Nagata and Suzuki versus Soberano and Atlantis Jr. is like, that's such a clash of styles. It's going to be really interesting to see how they do that. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I like that. And then this Thursday, Yokohama Budokan. Oh, fuck this, dude. Evil's in the main event. Yujiro's in the main event. It's House of Torture against TMDK. Cool.
Yippee.
Imagine the Yokohama Budokan. Oh god. The semi-main's good. It's Narita and Umino versus the War Dogs. So that should be good. Fun, but all right. And then let's see. Well, now I'm just curious what's gonna like close us out here. So like Kumamoto. No, that'll just be the final. Will they do semis, I wonder? They will. So they are doing semis. That's interesting. They're not just doing block winners, but it looks like on the last night of block action for A block, it is what's it gonna be? All these teams are like Narita and Umino versus Evil and Yujiro. So they have to like oust House of Torture to make it to the semis, I guess, is the plan. And then on the other block night, just Five Guys versus Bishamon checks out. Yeah, that's probably a good call there. One of those teams will make it. And then I bet, you know what I bet happens? I bet Monster Sauce beats Hikuleo and Phantasmo, and then that's like a strong title match because that's also on the final night. They could probably knock that team out of the semis too. Okay. And then we have a couple Road to Tokyo Dome shows, literally just two. One on November 22nd, one on December 21st. So they will not run a single Japanese show for an entire month to prep for Wrestle Kingdom. And then it's Wrestle Kingdom, and we're already almost there. Can you believe it?
I like that gap in between. We're going to get into it hopefully a little bit later when we talk Stardom. But there's a bit of an injury crisis going on in Stardom. Definitely a few scheduling issues, and there's a couple of things I want to get into. So seeing the New Japan guys take a bit of time off ahead of what is the biggest show of the year is I like to see that.
All right, let's switch gears here. Let's go to Stardom, who had, and we'll start with the show this time. They had a pay-per-views yesterday, right? Gold Rush, which was funny because of its poster that had, it was like, who was on it? What was it was like, I know Ami Sourei was on it, right?
Yeah. Who was on it?
Was it like was Momoka Hanazono on it?
Yeah, she was in the high speed title.
May Sarah. Yeah, it's Mirai. Yeah, Mirai, Ami Sourei, May Sarah, and Momoka Hanazono was cool. Good poster. So I only watched the last two matches on this one. And I will let you sort of take care of the rest. So I'll just sort of talk. I'll obviously do the recap, and then you can describe your thoughts for me. So anything? Do you want to talk? Were the semifinals worth talking about for the TLC tournament?
No, not really. They're pretty much like kind of house show matches. The only thing I'd say is it's nice to see Konami back in there. She kind of makes appearances every now and again. But other than that, this was just a way to get to where we got to in the main event. But nothing too major here.
Oh, in the high speed championship match, May Sarah was this her first defense over Momoka Hanazono? So obviously, quick first defense for May Sarah.
Yeah, good stuff. May Sarah, along with Yuna Mizumori and Suzuki, have been really good signings for Stardom. Kind of, as we talk about with the injury crisis, I do worry about what Stardom would have looked like if they didn't sign those three. I think it would have been looking pretty rough at the moment. But she's been a really great sign, and Hanazono kept up with her as well in this high speed match. So she's someone I always enjoy seeing when they get her in the high speed division, because obviously there's not a ton of names in the high speed division. The likes of Azumi and Starlight Kid kind of progressing a bit further up the card. So we do have to occasionally bring in these outside names. But yeah, solid first defense.
We had a high-speed 3-way match between Azumi, Starlight Kid, and Suzu Suzuki. Azumi got the win in this one.
Yeah, bit of a surprising result. Obviously, kind of set up what the post-match call out to come, and then they kind of angle after the main event as well to follow. But yeah, I was kind of expecting Suzu to take this, and this was obviously in place of, or for Suzu at least, in place of what would have been the main event, the red belt title match following the 5-star Grand Prix. Tam Nakano obviously got injured, so this is kind of a bit of a demotion on the card for Suzu. I do wonder when we're going to get that title match with kind of Queen on the way, and we're going to probably get into that a little bit later. But and then obviously Starlight Kid's return match. She's another one who's been on the shelf recently. But yeah, this was fun. Nothing too major to report. More high speed action. Suzu kept up well with the two. Azumi and Starlight Kid, we know how much chemistry they've got. But yeah, good win for Azumi, and solid stuff.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm looking at some of the comments here. I saw that they introduced the new rookie Yuzuki, right? All I saw, I didn't see any of the content or anything. All I saw was that she looks just like Miyu Amasaki. They look really, really similar. I don't know if other people had that reaction, but they really do look similar to me. But yeah. Did she has she wrestled yet?
So she had a debut match on New Blood West 1. But gotcha. Hold that thought, because I may talk about her later.
Okay. All right. Valid. Okay. Yeah. We had a MMA UWF rules match, and I did not watch this. It was Shuri beating Alice Inc., the Scandinavian Hurricane. Yeah. I don't know how this went. I assume it was boring, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed this one for what it was. This was actually one of my favorite, well, not favorite, but one of my, more enjoyable UWF rules matches that we've seen in recent memory. We both kind of said that they're not our favorite kind of match type, but they do throw these out every now and again, especially when Shuri's involved. This is my first time ever seeing Alice Inc. wrestle. I believe she's wrestled.
I've never seen her.
Yeah, I believe she was WXW Women's Champion for a brief period of time. But not something I keep up with really. So, but I think she held her own in there with Shuri. She got the better of Shuri for the early portion of this match, and then as the kind of match went on, Shuri just kind of beat the shit out of her with a lot of stiff kicks between the two of them. But it does seem like, based on the Stardom Twitter account, that Alice Inc. may stick around for a little bit. And the early signs were pretty promising. So I'd like to see how she does in kind of just a regular match, mixing up with a few other people on the roster. But I think they got something there. I'd be interested to see where she's kind of slots in.
We had a Wonder of Stardom title match. This is when I tuned into the show. Mirai retained against Saori Ano after a 30-minute draw. Jamie, what'd you think?
I enjoyed this match a lot. I thought it was easily the best match of the night. Mirai continues to have a really solid white belt reign, which is pretty funny because we used to kick the shit out of her a lot.
I know, it's true.
We say, we didn't want Mirai to win the white belt. It seemed like it was, it was destined to happen anyway, despite our criticism. But we have to give her a credit when she delivers in these big matches. The early portion of this match, it was pretty slow. A lot of exchanging holds and stuff. It became pretty clear that they were building to. They were either going to push that time limit or it was going to hit a draw, which ended up did happen. But closing stretches of the match were a lot more intense. Obviously, Mirai always throws them big, heavy lariats, and Saori Ano bumps like an absolute mad woman landing on her neck. Which was pretty scary when you consider the current injury crisis. I was like,
I know they're like, what if we just had more people injured? What if both of our top titles were out of action or something like that?
Yeah. And then obviously Ano's big suplex is always great to see. And yeah, Ano, another one who you could throw in there with Suzu, Yuna, and Mei Seira. I don't think she's fully signed because she kind of takes outside booking still too. But in terms of people they've brought in and around Stardom, pretty much the majority of the time, she's someone who's been absolutely massive for the company this year. And again, another one who I'd have worried to think about what Stardom would look like if they didn't bring in those names with the current people that are absent. But another very solid defense for Mirai. It will be interesting to see where she goes in terms of queendom. There was no call out after the match. No one kind of came out. I
Mm.
was kind of expecting maybe we get something there. In terms of Queendom, kind of, I was since Mariah won this belt and the way they've been building up Micah, I've been hoping that she'd be the one to take the white belt off her. But obviously, Micah did win the Goddess Tag League. But then again, the tag champ's currently injured. So are the tag champs even going to be there for Queendom? So do they do that Micah match at Queendom, or do they go another route? It's very interesting to see. I think the current Queendom lineup is going to be interesting to see. I think there should be a press conference maybe this week coming, just judging off kind of where we're at in terms of the schedule. So we shouldn't have to wait too much longer to see the direction. But heading into what is pretty much Stardom's biggest pay-per-view of the year, maybe you could argue that also Grand Queendom in April is bigger, but either the first or second biggest show. And it's pretty unpredictable heading in. We don't even know if the Red Belt champion's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, we frankly know like nothing about the show right now. Like, there's so many people whose status is up in the air and who are obviously injured, and so much of the title scene is injured too, as what, like, specifically. I mean, this show was just missing like so many stars on the roster that weren't even on the show, right? So, yeah, it's a rough time right now. The injuries are stacking up. Now we'll return to this conversation in a little bit, because I'm curious about what you think about some of the trends of all the Stardom injuries sort of piling up right now. Quickly, I want to talk about this Mariah match. I thought this match was really good. I really enjoyed it. I thankfully, when I watched it, was unspoiled about it being a draw, so it made it. And I didn't have, any real indication of, like, the vibes from previous in the show, because there were no long matches earlier in the show. The longest match before this was like 10 minutes. So I didn't have any of that, internalized, like, time, internalized clock going in. So the draw took me by surprise until I got to, like, the final 5. And then I was like, yeah, this is probably what they're doing. Which is always actually kind of a pet peeve of mine. Like, I wish more companies did finishes in the 25 to 30 minute range, because I think it makes the draw seem that much more dramatic. But regardless, the action in this match I thought was really good, super hard hitting. Ano is so great. Actually, both of these wrestlers, if you had asked me, probably 2 years ago, like, how big of a fan I am of these two, I'd be like, they're okay, I guess. You know what I mean? Obviously, as recently as like 6 months ago, it was the same thing for Mariah. I know when she became Ice Cross Infinity champion, I was not a fan. I thought she was just like another Oz Academy. Like, she's a good wrestler, but all of her matches are all this bullshit and stuff like that. But both of these wrestlers have really, I think, improved in my eyes over the last few years. And I really enjoyed this match. Mariah, against all odds, is having a very good white belt reign right now for Stardom. Of course, it helps to have her quality of opponent, but regardless, it's good stuff. I am looking forward to her matches now, which is not something I would have said a few months ago. Then the main event, we had obviously the Moneyball tournament final for the Artists of Stardom Championships. DDM retained over Stars. This was Hazuki, Sayaida, and Hanan. It was 10 minutes. It was pretty short. It was pretty goofy. And it was like, all right, we made it through this show. That was kind of the vibe I got. Now let's actually see what we can do about this Dream Queendom.
Yeah, this was pretty. I thought this match was pretty underwhelming in terms of what we kind of got last. I remember the one last year. Was a lot more exciting than this. I believe the one last year was also DDM versus Stars. I may be making that up. I know Stars were in it. Yeah, because I remember Mayu and stuff being in there. Obviously, this was another match that was plagued by injuries. You look at the kind of going back to the semi-finals as well. Obviously, the Stars team was originally, I assume, meant to be Mayu and FWC. Obviously, Koguma and Mayu both out. So you sub in Hanan and Saida, and I love both of them. I'm actually pretty excited. Saida seems to be getting a lot more focus in these last couple of shows, which is great because she's been super underutilized for a long time. I know you're a big fan too. But when you compare them to Koguma and Mayu Iwatani, especially in this environment, where you're going to see a lot of crazy high spots, you're not going to get the exact same level of stuff. Particularly Koguma, she's become a bit of a high spot merchant in these matches. She's always the one taking the big dives. So yeah, what wasn't exactly the match that it could have been. I don't think there was a lot of fun and crazy spots in there. Tekla suplexing Hazuki off the ladder and kind of hanging off the ladder was a really cool spot. This year they actually managed to keep the money ball on, suspended above the ring.
there wasn't the technical production style botches that we had last year. But that's what happens when you take Mayu out of the thing. She's the one who tends to lead to those happening.
Yeah, but for what it was, I thought it was still decent, but not exactly what it could have been. But we wrap up with Gold Rush, and as you said, we kind of move towards whatever Queendom is going to be this December, which is we just got to wrap all these women in bubble wrap for the time being, and hope that as many of them can make it back for late December as we can.
All right, what do we got here really quickly? Before I was going to do super chats, but before we do that, do you have any overall thoughts on the injury stuff? Do you think it's indicative of anything? Do you think it's just a coincidence or a combination of the two? What do you see your kind of evaluation of everything? And also more, maybe even further, what should Stardom do? What's the plan? And obviously it helps to know the specific status of a lot of people, but just what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a tough one. I think there are kind of two ideas that I have on ways they can kind of minimize this. One of them is a lot more manageable than the other, and these aren't clear cut, because obviously I don't know exactly. I'm not a medical expert. I don't know what the root cause of all these injuries are, right? And they're all varied in terms of their length and severity. But firstly, it kind of seems like the obvious one to me. We joke about it all the time, but they do so many shows. It seems like almost every weekend now there's a pay-per-view, which means that these women are going to go absolutely crazy because, as we see with these Stardom shows, they don't hold much back when it's on these pay-per-view shows. So just in terms of that schedule, and the 5-star GP is a very grueling schedule. And then you come straight out of that into kind of more big pay-per-views and then the tag league. Thankfully, they haven't announced the Triangle Derby, I believe, for early January. So maybe that'll be one round robin tournament that they don't.
You know what? That's fine by me, because I thought that tournament was nothing this year. I'm like, nope, not interested.
The year. But just cutting down that schedule, I think is we just talked about it with New Japan. They're wrapping up with tag league, and then they're going to have a bit of a break going into what is their biggest show of the year. And I think that's going to be so helpful in making sure as many of those names as possible make it to that show. The second one is less manageable, and I don't know how you instill this unless you beat these wrestlers over the head with it. But on these house shows, just take it a bit easier. I know they do these tours for and they're starting to do more and more places that haven't had Stardom shows before, and that's kind of one of the goals as we move into 2024. So they want to make a good impression. But at the end of the day, these are kind of just week house shows. As we kind of get to the next pay-per-view, so maybe take it a bit easier on that front. But there's no real policy I can put forward to instill that on it, just telling them maybe just take it a bit easier. But other than that, I don't really have any kind of specific action plan to prevent this. But those are my kind of thoughts on the current situation. But and then in terms of where we go from here, as we talk about with Queendom coming up, you're looking at just the main event. The wondrous, the World of Stardom champion Tam Nakano. She couldn't defend her belt at Gold Rush in what was meant to be the 5-star GP. Kind of payoff. We don't know if she's going to be there for Queendom. She's not on the poster, which I think is not a good sign. Utami Hashida is on the poster, which you assume means she's going to be back. My current thoughts, because I just think you have to have the red belt on Queendom if that's going to be your big show of the year. You can't not do it. Unfortunately, I think she's got to vacate the belt. I don't know what the plan will be after that. I don't know you assume you have to give Suzu a shot and maybe she wins it. But that's just one. I just don't know what the plan is there. And then for the tag belt as well, we obviously Natsupoi has the same injury that Utami has, I believe, is cervical hernia. We don't know when she's going to be back. They've not been freebirding the belt. So I thought maybe Yuna and and Anno could have defended them in her absence, but they've not taken that route. And now we have Micah and Megan Bain, who have won the tag league, but there's no champions. They pointed out themselves following the tournament victory. It's like they should just give us the belts. I actually think that's what they should have done. They should have made the tag league for the belts once they knew the severity of the injury. Obviously, it's too late to do that now, but. And again, with Megan Bain, kind of, just
and we don't like she's not a permanent member of the roster. She won't be in Japan for longer than a few months, you would think.
Yeah, I mean, I heard as much as that she her initial date to leave Japan was before Queendom. I do think she'll be able to make Queendom and go a little beyond that. But if you're not going to have the tag title match there, then how much longer does she have to delay her own plans? You've decided to, go with her for the win. I just don't know what the plan is. It seems like Saya Kamatani may be back soon. I've been hearing, positive stuff on that front, and it did seem like she was maybe the original plan for the 5-star. At least that was, Meltzer's report.
Mm-hmm.
The other kind of idea was maybe it would have been Utami, but she's out as well. So it's just a really unfortunate situation going into what is a huge show. Mayu Iwatani's injured as well. Obviously, we talked about her. I don't know how long she'll be out for. But yeah, I don't really see what the solution is going into this show. It's gonna be really interesting to see.
So here's kind of my on the injuries. I tend obviously take it easy on house shows. I think we can both agree on that. I think that's super obvious ways, like just a function of how much you wrestle aggressively. Like you can go through the motions in wrestling, take 1 or 2 bumps in a tag match, and you're out of there, right? And there's like practically no chance of getting injured. So I think that's a pretty simple fix. It's not worth selling 30 more tickets because you did a neck bump, which probably isn't even the case. It's probably more like 5 extra tickets if it means you get injured, right? So I think that's an easy fix. For the world title, I think you should vacate as soon as possible, unless you are 100% sure that Tam's going to be ready for like it should be this week, because otherwise what's the point? Like we don't have that many shows to build stuff up. There's just not much more you can do. I think Suzu has to be in it in the replacement title match. And I think there's so if your original plan to win the 5-star was somebody other than Suzu, so like if it was like Utami or Saya, and that person is healthy, they should be the other person in the match, and presumably they're going to be the ones to beat Tam, so they should win the title. If they're not, you should have Suzu win the title against whoever you think the biggest draw, best main event person that's going to be healthy and available that you have. Maybe Mayu's back at that point. Here's what I would do, assuming everybody's injured. So like the big 3 are like Tam, Utami, and Saya. Assuming none of them can wrestle at Queendom. And assuming, and we'll get to this in a second, that Giulia is on her way out, you should unify the strong women's title and the red belt, and you should make the main event Suzu versus Giulia and have Suzu win it. I think that's the best plan. It has Suzu put over somebody who can be genuinely contend for being the face of your promotion for the next decade. It gives them their first world title. It extracts as much valuable possible out of Giulia before she leaves. And it also gets rid of kind of a superfluous belt, the strong belt that was just made for Mercedes anyway, and there's no guarantee that she'll be back. Alternatively, take the financial hit, do everything in your power to see if you can get Mercedes to come and be in the main event. I don't know if you can get her to lose, but if you have to put a title on Mercedes and then vacate it before she leaves or something, like whatever you have to do, like to make it so this show happens is, you got to do what you got to do, because this is their Wrestle Kingdom. And right now, they have legitimately half of their top stars are injured, and it's looking really rough. Not only that, it's like concentrated among people who should be contending for the red belt right now. You took out the Micah option, which should have been an option, but you took it out by having her win the tag league. And then you look at, you just look at the card, you look at who was on this show just yesterday, and like, who else is there? Like, obviously not Mirai, obviously not Ano, because they're like, that's not good enough. Hazuki's not important enough for that. Obviously not like Tora or Watanabe. Shuri, you could do. You could have Shuri. You could be like, Shuri could be like, I have ran through all of these women in all these UWF matches. I am the best wrestler in this company. I deserve a shot at this title, and then have Suzu beat her. But if none of your choices, so like, they obviously had somebody, probably one of either Tam, Saya, or Utami, planned out to be champion by the end of 2023, right? If none of those people are available, I think it has to be Suzu. I just think that's the only thing that makes sense for future momentum. And I think the opponent should be Giulia in that circumstance. So it's a tough situation.
Yeah, I think it's got to be at this press conference that's coming up. I think that's it's kind of the last chance to do it. If they, like you say, if they don't do it there, you have to assume that they think Tam's going to be ready, because I just don't understand the thought process there if they're not going to do that. Like if you're not going to have the red belt on Queendom, then genuinely I would consider not doing Queendom.
Just don't, it'd be like,
do a red belt match in the show on January 4th before Wrestle Kingdom. Maybe push it back to then. But like, you can't not have the red belt. You got to vacate if she's not there.
Right. So it's interesting. I do think this is, obviously it's not good, and obviously we don't want people to be injured, but it does offer opportunity. Like, there's always something to be gained from wrestlers not being available, from like in New Japan, like we were just talking about, who's going to step up and fill the void of Will Ospreay. Like, there's always an opportunity for companies to make up for these voids and these vacancies when it comes to their top talent. So I'm very interested to see what Stardom does. They have shown signs of extremely inspired booking with the Suzu 5-star win, and they have shown signs of extremely tame booking as well over the last few years. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. Okay, let's switch gears. Anything else you want to talk about with Stardom? Anything else?
We should get into the Giulia news.
Of course, obviously. Really quickly before we do, a couple super chats. All the way back at the start of the show, I completely missed it. 6-star, Natsupoi. $1.99 super chat. Yeah, thank you, 6-star.
Another one who's out on the shelf. That's tough. Because if she was fit, she would have actually been not a bad shout for the red belt match against Suzu. On Tam's behalf. She's a big merch seller. I know she ranks highly with this. So she's I guess you could consider her a draw in that respect. And the match would have been amazing. We know that Natsupoi and Suzu would deliver something good, but yeah, she's another one who just seems like she's not going to be, or it'll be a push to get her there. And then if she is, she's got to do the tag match. So yeah, it's a tough situation.
The other thing that I was looking at with Natsupoi is there were 3 wrestlers to pin Suzu in the 5-star, and Natsupoi was one of them. Natsupoi, Shuri, and Mayumi Mitani were the 3 wrestlers to beat her. So you could do that as like the claim to the red belt match as well. $10 super chat from Anwar Starwind. It is always a special day when DGL returns. Oh,
thank you, Anwar.
Thank you so much, Anwar. Appreciate it.
Good to be back. Good to be back. I missed it.
So, Jamie, you are locked into all of the news and reporting stuff when it comes to wrestling. What is the most recent reporting and rumor around Giulia potentially heading to the States?
So I'll kind of take it from where I first started. There's kind of 3 reports that came out in order. The first one came from PW Insider, who basically just said WWE are massively interested in Giulia, which isn't surprising on its own. But the very interesting thing that they said was talks are so far ahead that she is expected at the WWE Performance Center as soon as this month, which is obviously pretty, alarming. That made it seem like it was an imminent move. Obviously, we didn't know the full extent of their contract situation at that point. But then Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, he added a little bit more. He confirmed the interest, again, which is pretty unsurprising. But he did mention that Giulia is tied down with Stardom until I believe March of next year. Also mentioned, I believe, that she had told Rossi that he was that she's going to be there pretty much going into next year, which is an interesting one as well. And then the most recent report from PW Insider kind of followed up on this, that the performance center visit that they mentioned wasn't going to be like a tryout. It was more of like just a visit sort of thing, which is interesting to kind of look into. And then they also said that didn't end up happening. But the interest is still there, and they did mention that she has an offer on the table. We don't know kind of what offer that is. Obviously, they also pointed out if it's a NXT offer, which I'm not sure whether they'd want her in NXT for a little bit, kind of like a Dragon League, just a short little spell down there. Bushiroad will be able to match that offer financially.
Right.
If it's a main roster offer, that then becomes a situation where that's going to be more than Bushiroad are capable of paying Giulia long term. So that's going to be interesting to see whether more reports come out about what WWE's plan is for Giulia. But in terms of the interest itself, this is not surprising news, and it's something I've been prepping myself for a little while with Giulia.
Yeah, so I just want to reaffirm something our Portuguese friend mentioned in the comments. The official Dumb Guy Live stance is that WWE should go out of business. Yeah, that is true. So thank you for being our stenologist there and making sure that gets out there. But I just said stenologist, stenographer is the word. Sorry, I'm a public school English teacher. Anyway, yeah, it would make me real sad if Giulia went to WWE. Obviously, talent, do what you want, get your money, get paid, whatever. As a fan, it would suck. Like,
yeah,
man. It's just, silver linings are like, I bet her versus Charlotte or her versus Rhea could be really great. The problem is the stuff that makes Giulia really excellent, that like really lets her stand apart, is just her intensity and her like will to make great matches happen out of nothing. And that's just not WWE style. Like Giulia is incredible at the high emotion, like Japanese, like this might sound like stereotypical, but like obviously like Japanese crowds are different than American crowds in terms of how they like conduct themselves at shows. And Giulia is so great when the crowd is like muted and are like hanging on to her every action, because she might throw a shoot headbutt or just like pop up and drop somebody on their head or take a head bump or take a exploder off the stage or something like that. And that's just not something that WWE does. It's just not their thing. Like she will never throw a headbutt against Rhea or anything, right? That's not their game. And so I just don't think, even though she's obviously such a superstar, right? I think she would be so popular. It's not like Dragon Lee, where even though I of course love Dragon Lee and think he's incredible, he can be Dragon Lee in WWE. Like there's nothing stopping him from doing everything he wants to do in WWE. Giulia can't be Stardom Giulia in WWE. She just can't. She won't be able to wrestle 25-minute main events, right? It's just not going to, she's going to wrestle 12-minute mid-card pay-per-view matches against, I don't know, against like Bayley or against, EO would be a great match, I'm sure, but it's just not, EO is somebody who does fit really well in WWE. Giulia, I don't think does. Yeah, no, she's so awesome. But it's just not, she's awesome in a very specific circumstance. And it's difficult for me to see the personal, personality that she's able to get across all of her feuds. Like, think about all the great feuds she's had with like Tam and Shuri and Suzu and Risa Sera. And it's because of all this like shared history that they have. And, it's going to feel so contrived in WWE, like so much of WWE already does, but even more so because we know all of Giulia's history. So I don't know. It's I really hope it doesn't happen, but of course you do what you can to get the money. If she's getting an NXT offer initially, she should be like, screw you. No, I'm not doing that. Like, you're going to pay me main roster money. Otherwise I'm going to stay in Japan in my home, where I can continue to make a lot of money without having to learn a whole new language and do all this travel and all that type of stuff. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'd be pretty disappointed. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I just think you know, as you said, with the kind of NXT thing, that's the one thing I'm kind of clinging on to and hope that she doesn't take it, because maybe she sees that the the financial offer isn't going to be worth, sacrificing what makes her so unique and so exciting as a performer. And then just in terms of like, this has felt inevitable for a while. We talked about Giulia, kind of the star power, and obviously we just talked about how translatable that actually is. But just in terms of like viewing her as what she is in Stardom, she seems like an obvious pickup. If you ignore like the style she wrestles in, just in terms of star and presentation. So it's unsurprising that they're highly interested. I mean, she's one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. And then the only kind of other thing that we to kind of get into on the Giulia front, and we kind of talked about in a similar vein with Ospreay when we mentioned him going to AEW, is what does this mean for the people kind of close to Giulia in the roster? Donna Del Mondo has been her faction since she came in. I know that there's been stuff going on there before this news came out. Obviously, Suzu's been kind of in and around Donna Del Mondo since coming in. Not officially joined yet, but it seems pretty close. And then you've got Micah, who could also become the leader, but also has shown signs of leaving Donna Del Mondo, starting her own faction. So maybe this is a pretty big roster shakeup that could happen there on that front. People moving around different factions. And then the other thing is obviously the strong title she's got. I forgot to mention it when we were talking about Gold Rush, but Azumi called her out for a strong women's championship match, which I think should be a great match. And also, I hope Azumi wins, because I think she's another one who could. I think it'd be great to see her, showing out in these American shows, against the likes of like Stephanie Vaquer and the people they bring in for these kind of events. But yeah, those are kind of my overall thoughts on Giulia. I do think it's going to happen. Unfortunately, the vibes are just telling me that I think she may be heading out. But yeah, clinging on to that NXT thing and hopeful that Bushiro can match whatever WWE throw at her.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. Not the best vibes around Stardom right now, between all the injuries and the potential of losing one of your top stars. It's they're in a bit of flux right now, and it's so tough because they start off, like the 5-star up until all the injuries started piling up was like the best women's round robin tournament like ever. Night in and night out, incredible, great matches. So just kind of how it goes. Just kind of how it goes. So let's switch gears a little bit. Last week we had one of the biggest DDT shows of the year in DDT Ultimate Party. Were you able to catch any of this show?
I didn't watch the full show, but I did catch most of the like pretty big matches.
Nice. Okay, sweet. Same thing. Same with me. I started with the Sasaki match versus Endo. Did you watch that one?
I didn't catch that one. No, I started with the Saki Akai.
Yeah, it's just weird, the different vibes around like Sasaki and Endo. Like these two, I think they main evented like Judgment or Ultimate Party one year, and they've just like both completely tumbled down the card, especially Endo. And it's just been and with Endo taking the loss here is just very strange. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from there. I presume then you started with Saki Akai's retirement match. Okay, so I thought this was awesome. Naomichi Marufuji, Kazusada Higuchi, and Miyu Yamashita defeated Yukio Sakaguchi, Hideki Okatani, and the retiring Saki Akai. I think go ahead and talk about the match. I will give some thoughts on Akai's career from what I saw of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought this was an awesome match. I mean, when the kind of lineup was revealed for the opponents that were going to take on Eruption in this one, I couldn't think of a better trio. It's almost like a cyber fight all stars. You've got kind of Noah, TJPW, DDT represented there, and then following on from that in terms of like the star power there and the level that those three are at, you kind of knew where this match was going to go. And I think it's kind of the best type of retirement match. They kind of just beat the shit out of Saki for the majority of this, which I think is pretty cool. But also, Eruption absolutely held their own. It's cool to see them go out in this kind of in this big time match. And yes, Saki Akai has been someone who's like, she wasn't always as highly regarded as she is now. She's come a long way in her in-ring. And it's super cool to see how highly regarded she is now in 2023. And she's it's a shame to see her going out, because I think there's still a lot more that she could do. But obviously, this decision she's decided to make, and I think their retirement run's been really enjoyable. But yeah, a very, very enjoyable match here. Did also set up a possible Marufuji versus Miyu Yamashita match in the post match stuff, which I think is exciting. But yeah, really cool trios match here. So yeah, I'll let you take it away on Saki Akai and her retirement.
Yeah, just quickly on this. I love the team breakdown. I love that Higuchi, obviously not being interruption anymore, was on the other side. I kind of wondered if they were going to do like a 4-on-4 when they were talking about Akai's retirement match and bring Higuchi back to the eruption side, but I think this was the perfect way to do it. Higuchi has unbelievable chemistry with both of the remaining eruption wrestlers in Sakaguchi and Okatani. Their dynamic as tag partners when he was with Sakaguchi was like, Higuchi's like this unchained, ball of like incredible skill essentially and power, but Sakaguchi's the game planner and he's the one who like keeps him focused. And I just always remember one of my favorite in-round moments of their careers so far is they're doing this incredible tag match against Takeshita and Mao, and at one point Higuchi's like standing sort of deciding what to do next as they're working people over, and Sakaguchi gets in the ring, slaps the shit out of him, is like buck the fuck up, like let's actually win this match, you know what I mean? It's just a great little thing, and it wasn't overplayed, it wasn't like ultra like melodramatic, it was just cool. And so I love the chemistry there. Obviously Yamashita and Saki have fantastic chemistry themselves as well. I thought the Yamashita versus Saki Sama world title match from a year or two ago in NJPW was so much better than it could have been, considering how much I don't enjoy the Neo Bishikigun like Saki Sama type stuff. I thought the presentation of Saki Sama as like this monster heel was so good, and it's a testament to Saki's versatility as a performer as well, that she was able to get that across too. And of course, having a legend like Marufuji in there just makes it even better. Yeah, I thought he completely did his part in that one. So I think it was a genuinely perfect retirement match for Saki Akai, who just had a really great career. I mean, she was never a top star in any one promotion. She was more of a special attraction, right? She wrestled for less than a decade. But she was just, DDT is a male promotion, and she spent the majority of her time in DDT wrestling men, and it ended up she was like great. She perfectly fit in. She's a part of one of the most fun like moments of the horrible pandemic era of Japanese wrestling, where it was like October 2020. It's like the doldrums, right? At Korakuen, it's Eruption versus Nautilus. If you remember Nautilus at all, Yuki Ueno, God, what's the big guy with the thick legs? Naomi Yoshimura and Kazuki Harada, and they do this 6-man tag for the 6-man belts, right? And Akai she is taking these like legit chops from Yoshimura, and she did more for Yoshimura in that match than like any singles match that he's had against like a male wrestler. Like that match alone got him over like just a killer. So she was just awesome there. She was so versatile. You could always count on her to do her part. She was a great comedy wrestler. Like the comedy for me is take it or leave it, but she always did her part. Like there was a very funny storyline a couple years ago where her old gravure photo book, I want to say, was the Iron Metal Heavyweight Champion, and so she really didn't want it to get out, and so she had to keep pursuing it. That was a great little storyline. She had a really fun singles match with Kazuki Harada, by the way, on the Road to Ultimate Party. That was sort of her her literal penultimate match, and set up it was her comedy retirement match, which made it really fun too. So just a big fan of Saki Akai. I'm really glad that she got to go out on her own terms. Just a super reliable performer. just one of the people that is reminiscent of the fact, like, to be successful in wrestling, you don't have to be a fighter. You don't have to be a bodybuilder. You don't have to be, somebody who is trained in martial arts or anything like that. She was a model, and I think she did like so many Stardom wrestlers do. She was just a fan, and she got into it through that, and she was like, this is really cool. And then she made it her livelihood for a decade, and ended up being one of DDT's best draws over that period. Love that she gets to go out on her own terms. She's still in her, I think she's still in her early 30s, so she's got her whole life ahead of her, of course. And I guess she's 36. She's even older than I thought she was. She does not look 36, by the way. So she's still got a ton of life ahead of her. She'll have many opportunities to do a million different things because she's just that talented. So great career for Saki Akai, and I'm really glad that she got to go out in this way.
Yeah, I love the.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I like that you brought up the fact that she gets to go out on her own terms. Obviously, it's never good to see when one of your favorite wrestlers has to decides to step away from the ring. But it is not everyone gets to go out on their own terms. You see a lot of wrestlers who are forced into retirement, medically or one way or the other. So when you do get these moments where they you get all the build up and you get these kind of series of matches and they get to get in there one more time with maybe some of their best rivals or teammates and stuff like that. Those are always some of the absolute best moments in wrestling, despite the circumstances of it being like the last time you're going to see them in the ring. And this is like another example of that. So it's always some of the nicest moments in wrestling.
Speaking of Hirata, we had quite the spectacle in the following match here. Quite a mood change as well. When we had, for the Iron Man Heavy Metalweight Championship, a multiple stipulation death match between Hirata and Hiromu Takahashi. This went 5 rounds. I'm just going to go ahead and go through the rounds here. We had the musical situation death match. We had a 2-on-1 handicap match. We had the blindfolded bra match. And then we had 2 more dancing death matches to get us to this finish here. It was like DDT at its distilled, like in its purest form. Hiromu, obviously, like you would expect, just slots in so perfectly to a match like this. Is this exactly what I want out of wrestling? No, not really. But with that being said, I do think this is like, there are moments where DDT finds that line where matches can be extremely obviously goofy and comedic, but there's enough like awesome wrestling action in there that it's like really cool as a wrestling fan too. And I think this was an example of that. I really, really enjoyed it. Had a smile on my face the entire time.
Yeah, I thought this was a good time. I mean, wrestling comedy is something that is rarely, kind of gotten right. But I think with the right kind of people, you get the right sort of blend of when you mix it in with actual serious wrestling, it's not just full on, cartoonish kind of ridiculous. You can get some good stuff out of there. It's funny to see Hiromu, who's such like a eccentric and kind of wacky personality, play almost like the straight guy in this match. Which is a bit of a juxtaposition for him there. But just really fun stuff. It's always cool to see Hiromu. We've gotten to see him a lot of different different promotions this year. One thing that did make me laugh is that kind of Hiromu didn't even get pinned by DDT wrestler.
I know. He's more willing to job to his championship melt than to a human being signed to another company.
That is that's some high level politics and protection from New Japan Pro Wrestling that has to be kind of commended. That instead of letting Hiromu get pinned by one of DDT's wrestlers, they were like, "Nah, we're gonna put the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship over him first." But that's what the Iron Man Heavy Metalweight Championship's all about. I mean, sometimes I just scroll through that Wikipedia page and just look through the list of things that have been champion. That just to part myself, it always makes me laugh. I think at one point, like the fans watching on YouTube with a champion because I think a tripod pinned someone. So very entertaining championship. But yeah, this was definitely a switch up from the previous match, but a welcome one and something that a very fun match.
We had what I would suspect is Matt Cardona's last ever DDT match. A no DQ match for the DDT Universal Championship. Mao took the title from Cardona. We got Yoshiko out there. Or wait, sorry, did I say Yoshiko? Yoshiko. Anyway, yeah, it was just I did not pay attention as much to this one. This was I don't care about Matt Cardona in DDT. What did you think of this one?
I didn't watch it. I skipped it.
I'm glad we're on the same page there.
I didn't watch this show live, so I was like, no.
See, here's the deal. I actually don't. A lot of people hate Matt Cardona. I really don't. I'm just like, this is just not like. I just watched a 25-minute comedy match, and like that was also like no DQ and goofy stipulations. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't need to see any more of that. So yeah, let's skip that. Mao is the Universal Champion. He'll be good at that. Yeah. We had really interesting match. Chris Jericho beating Konosuke Takeshita in DDT. In a match that I thought was really excellent. I enjoyed this match a ton. Just hard hitting, great stuff. Takeshita is genuinely as consistent as they come in the entire world. I saw a lot of criticism around the finish with Jericho getting the win. I can see it both ways, but I don't know. I guess I don't really know. Like, they obviously were going to have Jericho win the tag match at Full Gear for DDT. And Takeshita is sort of part of a larger thing right now. He's not really the focus of his storyline right now. So I don't know. It made some sense to me, but I can see the criticism as well. But regardless, I think the in-ring here was excellent. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, really fun match. I think the atmosphere for this one was really cool. I'm not the first one to make this point. I know a couple of people have mentioned it on podcast.
Production making Jericho look like a big deal.
Oh yeah, and for both of them as well. Actually, I think we're both enjoyers of the Don Callis theme music. I think we both kind of find it pretty funny, but it's not serious. We like it because it's not serious. It's not. It's ridiculous. That's why it's funny.
I don't need to hear it at DDT Ultimate Party. I can hear it when he's coming out for a Callis promo. No, yeah.
But yeah, when you see Takeshita making his entrance in DDT and he's got like actual theme music and he's looking like a star. But yeah, for Jericho, and when you get these kind of big Western stars coming in, in front of a Japanese audience, sometimes you see a bit of a switch in the crowd. I believe Ibu's mentioned this when he kind of reviewed the match. The crowd sort of like becomes, they go for American style chants, and it's just really interesting to see. It's a totally different atmosphere you create, and it's a pretty unique one to see in DDT. But then just in terms of the match, I just thought it was a really good match for both of them. Jericho, obviously he's getting on a bit in age now, but whenever he steps up in the big spots, he always delivers pretty much 99% of the time. And this was another example of that. Big high impact moves from both of them. I remember one. I think Jericho took a brain buster on the outside. It was pretty cool. There was some big high impact stuff in there. And in terms of the finish, not my preferred choice, because obviously I'm a big fan of Takeshita, and I think I'm kind of critical of the way AEW have handled him in the Don Callis family. It's Don Callis is kind of like you kind of alluded to, he's become the main character of this story, and that's kind of not really what I was hoping for when we got the initial turn. And they were building up like he's going to be better than Okada and better than Inoki and all these guys, and now he's just kind of like one of the background characters in his group.
He's a heavy. He's like Kyle Fletcher.
Yeah. But the other side of things, which is why I'm kind of a little more, I'm not as mad as maybe some people are over it, is kind of the match we're going to get into next, where they have the main event's result of Yuki Ueno picking up DDT's top championship. I think Takeshita taking a loss here in a big, on a big time DDT show. I think that sets up a pretty interesting storyline where Takeshita and Ueno could maybe have a big match for that title. So we'll see how that goes, but I would prefer Takeshita to win. But regardless, really good match.
I do think one problem with Jericho is that I think he's still awesome. Like, I'm not one of these people who thinks he's like super washed or anything. He's just he's not physically imposing like anymore. Like he frankly, he just looks old because he is old. And I think it just takes away, like, you put him in there with Takeshita, who's jacked and bigger than him, and it's just like, I think it's hard to buy in a little bit at times, but I don't know. Suspending my disbelief has never really been an issue for me in wrestling, so I don't know. I really enjoyed this match. However, I did not think it was the best match on the show. The main event, Chris Brooks versus Yuki Ueno for the KOD Openweight Championship. This was a 30-minute match, an epic. Ueno trying to win this openweight title for the first time. It's kind of, if you're a DDT fan, you adored this match. If you're not, a lot of people thought this was kind of long and overblown and not that exciting. Surprisingly, I lean more towards the former. I thought this match was awesome. I think this was the best match I've ever seen Chris Brooks in. I'm not that high on Chris Brooks. I love Ueno, and I just thought this was great. Like, it reminded me of an NXT main event from Black and Gold era in a good way. Like, a lot of people say that's like pejorative now. A lot of people say they don't like that. I loved NXT main events from Black and Gold era. So anything that reminds me of that, gives me that vibe, is good with me. I guess that's why I'm okay with this MJF reign too. Although I did not watch the show last night. But regardless, I think I thought this match was great. Very emotional. You could see where they were going. It's okay that you were able to call Ueno winning as soon as they started going into the finishing stretch. Like, it felt like no shot that Brooks was retaining. But these two have underratedly had a ton of history. They've fought for the Universal title multiple times. Brooks just finished his emotional arc of winning the openweight title for the first time, but he couldn't hold off this fast rising young guy in Ueno. And I just thought the dynamic of the match was great, and I'm glad that Ueno is the top champion in DDT.
Yeah, I kind of lean somewhere in between the kind of two sides that you just put forward. I enjoyed the match. I thought it was a really good match. I'm not super invested in DDT right now, and I know you're not, the craziest DDT guy as well at the moment. But in terms of just kind of like following along what's been going on and kind of the history between these two, I'm not as kind of crazily locked in to the rise of either of these two. But I do really like the comparison you made with NXT Black and Gold. I think that the kind of drama in this one definitely hit some of those notes that some of the big time takeover matches used to do, and I think that was to its credit. I think the Ueno win felt like a big deal by the time we got there, and obviously as well, I do understand some of the criticism of the match being long as well, and that kind of was another reason why I didn't fully love this match, because when you're not as invested in a story, and you're and that's through no fault of the wrestlers, just because I haven't been keeping up with it. And then you have to watch like a 30-minute match of that. It's not going to be something that everyone enjoys, but I do think both of these two did a really great job. It was good to see Chris Brooks have a run as DDT's top guy, because I think he's been someone he's been a really great servant to the company, especially throughout like the pandemic and stuff. And not a lot of the guys just kind of went back home. He's kind of stuck it out and made a real name for himself in Japan. And then in terms of Yuki Ueno, he's been someone who has kind of, a lot of people have been hoping for him to kind of get this big spot for a while. And whenever I've kind of tapped into DDT, he's been a guy I've been impressed with. So it was really nice to see him get his moment. And just kind of a good ending to what was a pretty fun show for DDT. I had his kind of low points and high points, but this is definitely a high for me in terms of the end result of what we got here. So good stuff.
Yeah, I really liked what I saw on this show. I just, I think DDT is at their best when they allow their wrestlers to be as expressive and entertaining as they can be, but they stay grounded in the wrestling side of things. Maybe you get like your one comedy match a show and you keep it at that, or like you get those occasional moments where they find that line and they walk it beautifully between comedy but also great in-ring action. And I think we got a lot of that on this show. So I think this was a big thumbs up for DDT. I would probably say I haven't watched every, DDT show from like Cork and Hall size and up, but I can't recall a DDT show that I liked more than this one this year. So yeah. All right. Few super chats, and then then I think we'll get close to closing it out here. So IDEK, one of our most loyal viewers, $5 Canadian. Hey, dumb guys, hope the stream has been well. Assuming David Finlay wins the US title, how would you want his reign to go? I would want him to drop it on first defense. I would like Gabe Kidd to so you should have Gabe Kidd be like, I want to prove myself to you by challenging you for the title, and then beat him, and then the War Dogs just beat the shit out of him after, and Gabe Kidd is the new Bullet Club leader. That seems good to me.
Yeah, but I was about to say the exact same thing. As have Gabe Kidd beaten for it. It's the thing we've been saying for seeming like months now. That we want him to just kind of usurp him in that top spot. There's like a slight. I'm holding out hope slightly, and I just don't think it's going to happen. But it's just in terms of that match. When Ospreay kind of put forward the idea for the title, he said it wants to be something that the winner can kind of take around the world and all over the place.
Mhm.
I think there's a potential that one of the two other guys maybe has it in AEW for a little bit. It seems like if Ospreay's gonna not go straight into like a world title feud, say maybe they're gonna hold off for Wembley. Maybe it's something that he can do for a little bit. But I do think Finley's gonna win. So yeah, I just have him drop it pretty soon. Whether that's to a Gabe Kidd or maybe a guy like Yota Tsuji, someone like that. I don't know, but yeah, I'm not really looking forward to a longer David Finley reign.
Me either. $1.99 from bruh. Ospreay out, Finley in. Hashtag head Gaijin in charge. I don't know about that. Yeah. Triple bruh. I don't know. David Cameron, the PM, $5. Tired of Jericho wanting to hog the spotlight. Very piggish.
I see.
Nice. I assume that's a British humor. Is that British humor? Or is
it's a David Cameron, new foreign secretary for the Conservative Party, alleged to have done some not very good things with an animal, perhaps allegedly.
David, you can't be
what's
doing
he
that.
like?
That's bad.
He's back now. They're just getting completely off track. The reveal of David Cameron as the new foreign secretary was a bit of a WWE Monday Night Raw moment. I don't know if you actually saw. It was as if like Vince McMahon had got out the car and it was like, Vince is back. I was watching on the TV and they were like, David Cameron? Because no one knew he was about to be there. So that was a pretty weird moment of British politics. But anyway, David Cameron. Not good to see you back, but thanks for the $5.
Piggate refers to a claim that during his university years, the former British Prime Minister David Cameron inserted his penis and/or scrotum into a dead pig's mouth as part of an initiation ceremony for the Piers Gaveston Society at Oxford University. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I'm glad. That's pretty sick, actually, now that I think about it. Big fan of that, David. Cool. Also from $4.99. I just want to ask, since I missed part of his run there, but didn't New Japan ever make Jay White look like as much of a dork as AEW did last night? I did not watch the show last night, but I presume not, because I don't really remember Jay White ever looking like much of a dork.
No, his New Japan run was very enjoyable for me. I did watch the show, so I can't. I assume, have you seen like spoilers and stuff? I don't want to spoil the show for you if you haven't. But
no, I don't care. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, yeah. So MJF got injured in the Joe match. Kind of after the bell, the Guns took him out. And he's taken out in an ambulance. Adam Cole takes his place. But obviously, Adam Cole is still on crutches. So, Adam Cole comes out for the match and he's on crutches. Like, we're going to start the match. MJF comes out after, the ambulance security chase him down. And it's just like, they just then have the match that they would have done anyway. But MJF's injured. But he also doesn't sell the leg. He's doing he does crazy, he does a cutter. He jumps over the top rope and cutters him to the outside. And he's doing crazy moves. But
he did the Myron Reed cutter?
Yeah,
like where you jump over the top rope to the floor.
Yeah, he did that. But
MJF.
Yeah, but he just came out of an ambulance after getting his leg less than about 3 hours ago. It's ridiculous. They made Jay White look like an absolute no one thought he was winning going into it. I believe he was the biggest underdog of any match going into this one. But he just looked like a total loser. Because MJF couldn't have had any more odds stacked against him in this one, and he just did it. It just seemed like it seemed like John Cena at the height of his powers. That's how when he was putting guys away in that fashion, it was like Cena wins lol. That was what it came across to me last night, and I don't know how Jay White recovers in the immediate future, because I just think he looks like a total, like you said, just like a total dog after this one.
That's rough. I like the Switchblade a lot. He's another one who I would much rather just see in Japan instead of in AEW. But that's kind of how it goes, I guess. You go where the money takes you. All right, everybody. I think it's that time for Beast of the Week. Or Murph here. You know what? Go ahead. You go ahead. I'm gonna text Murph, see if I can get one from him. And yeah, we'll go from there.
Okay. So have you been watching this podcast kind of, majority of the way through? You may have already worked out who my Beast of the Week is, because there was someone we were talking about a little earlier in the show. And I was kind of like, hold that thought. We'll get back to it. My Beast of the Week is Stardom's newest debutante, Yuzuki.
Ooh, that's a good
choice. Who made her
choice.
debut at New Blood West 1, which is kind of like a spin-off of New Blood. I don't really know what New Blood West is. I think it's just
I assume it's the west of Japan.
Yeah, it's just New Blood, but somewhere else. So, fair enough. But she made her debut against Momo Watanabe, and she had a really great performance. It's probably, she's just off one performance, she seems like the most promising rookie they've had. And I'm kind of looking like the most recent ones we've kind of had. We've had, we've had the Aya Sakura, Hanako, Miyu Amasaki, Lady C, people like that. She seems like more promising in her initial, first match than all of those people. She's in there, and she was in there against Momo Watanabe, who is one of my absolute favorites. But I think her selling in this match was tremendous. She was throwing Hurricane Ranas and Escaleras in there. It's kind of crazy. We had a little bit more information about her after the match. She got into wrestling through being a Dragon Gate and WWE fan, which is an interesting blend. Yeah, it's very weird. She said her favorite wrestler is Ricochet, but she seems incredibly promising. I'm very much looking forward to seeing where she goes from here, because I just think off her initial performance, she seems like someone who I think they should have given the kind of focus that they initially gave to Miyu Amasaki. They presented her with the main event match against Utami. They pushed her as if she's going to be the next Wonder Kid. I think Yuzuki is the one that's going to be the kind of the next big thing for Stardom moving forward. So she is my Beast of the Week.
I have not been blown away by a lot of the recent Stardom rookies. I think a lot of them have failed to really, show some character and really stand out in any real way. So hopefully Yuzuki's the one that gets me back in and excited, because it's to the point where if I see any of Hanako or Aya Sakura or whoever in a house show tag, I'm I'm not watching that. I don't care about that. So yeah. Anyway, maybe Yuzuki's the one. For me, this is pretty easy. Only thing is, it's technically a week and a few hours ago, but it's Saki Akai for me. She was great in the retirement match. She was great in the entire tour, and I gotta give her some official Dumb Guy Live recognition on her way out for Beast of the Week here. If we had done the show a week ago, she would have been mine at that point too, and so just gotta give her that recognition. Murph did not get back to me. So we're just I'll just wait until we'll post the tweet when he gets back to me. But I think collectively, I think Swerve Strickland is the answer there. I think that works fine with me. I saw a couple clips. I did not see the match, and that's enough for me to say, yep, you are in fact the Beast of the Week, Swerve.
It was tremendous. I gave it a 5.
I really need to watch it. I have no, I'm such a fan of both, and it's funny. This is another, I'm not a big booking guy, but there's moments where following people when they're on their indie runs makes you way more invested in their success when they make it to the big leagues. So I was in Evolve Wrestling. I watched every single Evolve show in their history. And one of my favorite runs in Evolve history was Shane Strickland, as a heel. He was a shooter heel in Evolve, and it was awesome. And he just never stuck as a heel in WWE, and then in AEW early on, he was a babyface, of course. So finally him getting this heel stable together and being just a killer like I knew he could be, is such an affirmation of what he did earlier in his career. And so I was always, because he's a likable guy, right? And he's obviously friend of the show, friend of the
yeah, it's just
friend of
an interview with
WrestleFurious.
Ibu and AO. Definitely go and watch that one if you haven't checked it out.
But man, it feels so good to see somebody show promise doing a specific role on the indies, and then to see it come alive in national TV on a pay-per-view stage. It's currently the highest rated singles match in AW history, which is pretty awesome. So, and obviously Hangman Page was a huge part of that too. So, do you want to just do both? You want to do both him and Hangman?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it'd be unfair to kind of miss Hangman out of this one. I'm down with that. Give it to both of them. But I was just going to say on Swerve Strickland, he feels like the biggest star in the company right now. And that's kind of part of that is, and I'm not the highest on the kind of whole MJF run that we're getting at the moment, but he feels like the most must see whole part of the entire company. And this match kind of only added on to that more. I'm kind of desperate to see AEW kind of pull the trigger on giving him the AEW World Championship. I don't know exactly when that's going to be, but I would be pushing for it sooner rather than later, especially off the back of this. He just feels like such a star. And it's super cool to see him come, to the level he is at now. And then Hangman Page's incredible performance last night. That spot where I mean, you may have seen a couple of clips and stuff where he kind of like he's underneath Swerve, he's letting the blood drip into his mouth, and then he sprays it like Triple H. Insane.
Such a freak, dude. It's so awesome. It's like, yeah, you get wrestling. You know what to do.
He has to be part of the Beast of the Week thing just for that spot alone. Just like that. I mean, it doesn't get much more beast than that.
That's
but
awesome.
I love that double pick for collective Beast of the Week.
Quick super chat before we go. 6 at the buzzer, $1.99. Yuzuki, future Hall of Beast member. Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. Yuzuki's getting the 6-star co-sign there.
I'm all in. I'm all in. So I've seen one performance, and I'm there.
I'm down with it. Okay. Hey, thank you all so much for watching. This was, even though we've been gone for like a month, this was like some of the, I don't know if, can you see viewership, Jamie, on your
end? I never know until we finish.
Yeah, this was some of our best viewership we've gotten like ever throughout the show. Like we were consistently at like 30, 40, 50 simultaneous viewers, which again, for a podcast about Japanese professional wrestling is pretty good, I'd say. So thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. My schedule starts to clear up decently well over the next few months. Still won't be every week, but I am reinvigorated with wrestling since we're getting into Wrestle Kingdom season, and since I've essentially affirmed not caring about American wrestling at all. I'm like, fuck it. I'm all back in on Puro, Lucha Libre, Joshi, whatever I need to do there. So for Murph, for Jamie-san, that is going to do it for us this week. Stay dumb.